What's going on, sir?
Man, I'm just glad to be here, man. When you asked me, I was like, I'm not sure why you'd want me on here, but I'm thankful to be on here.
Well, we had a mutual friend pass, and I've been to Simple Church.
Yeah,
it's been some years. And so I'd seen you preach before. We went to that. We had Jim Walsh passed away. And I saw you there, and I was like, man, and I was so touched. When you go, whether it's a funeral or memorial or anything, you get touched anyways. Yeah. And I was in the moment, and anytime the higher power, whatever it is, tells me, hey, that'll be a good person to be on the show.
That's cool.
And anytime I hear in my head, hey, that's someone I should ask, I just act upon it. So,
hey, I'm thankful.
I did it in the moment, man. And I was like,
well, I got a lot of. Music is a big part of my life. I mean, I wouldn't be in the ministry without music. And so it's kind of a weird thing, but like Jim is just an example. We met out of basically philanthropy. I mean, helping people, doing good. I mean, we call it doing good. So, and so the funny thing about Jim, great bass player, great guy in the community, invested in the community. But where we really connected, he was walking through some stuff in his life too, and he was like, "Hey, bro, can you help me out? Let's talk." So we'd just talk, we'd hang out, and be like, "Yeah, man, what about this or what about that?" And then one thing or another would come up, and it'd be like, "Hey, let's work on this project." And just an example, we had a church that was in Cedar Grove, and it was really not doing that well. But I had some mutual friends that were kind of in that area. Actually a guy on the fire department, and it was his home church, and he was like, "Hey man, they really want to do an after school program with computers." Well, I don't know nothing about computers, but Jim knew everything about computers, so I was like, "Hey man, would you be willing to come in?" He was like, without a second thought, he immediately came in and said, "Let's do it." And he himself came here. He didn't send his boys, he didn't send his company. We went over, we hung out, and we put in a whole after school computer program in place for them. So he bought it all. He bought the computers, he set them up himself, he put them in there, taught everybody how to use it. And then I was just like, music brought us together. We kind of knew each other through that, but then to see him be that quick to go and help somebody, he didn't know him at all, he had no relationship with him or whatever. Same back along with Jim. My son's a bass player, works here at Bojack's. I mean, he does lights and all. I don't know if you even know that's my son.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
So Ian's got the music bug like I did. Yeah. So he, the first time he was able to play was at Jim's place down at the brewery. So they pulled together and had their outdoor thing. So me and Jim he was like, "Man, I'm so excited to see your son here." So I just love people like that, and that's who you guys are. Honestly, that's Bo, that's you, that's everybody down here. Peanut. It's like this idea of how can we make the community better, how can we give back, how can we have some fun while we're doing it. And when you look back, that's really what it comes down to, man. I'm an old bar guy too, so well, I started in the bars, man. That's where I was.
That's man, there's not a lot of people like that. There's not that guy. He was kind of mentor to me, and honestly, it would not and I haven't really said anything about him since it happened, just because really, him better than anyone else. I hadn't had anyone on here to talk about it, really. But he's the reason why I had this podcast.
Wow.
Well, I say reason. He's the one that said, well, I told him I was thinking about doing it. He was like, well, you just put it in Cohab. So my first 2 years, I was in Cohab. And so if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's cool how everything comes full circle. And then also, that guy, he was a huge mentor for me and a lot of people. But I think, I don't know, man, he never met a stranger, No,
man.
And one of those very rare entrepreneurs, I get weird about that word because it gets thrown around so much, but one of those weird business owners or, philanthropist or entrepreneur that actually stands behind their mission. You know what I mean?
Oh, he did it. And see and this was interesting about that is we connected through music. So I didn't know I didn't know his computer company.
Right.
That's why I didn't even really know that's what he did. Another guy did. We knew each other through music. So we were all, this shows my age. We were all 80s guys, all right? And so in the 80s, you had Humphreys in the Square, you had Sports Page, you had the $1 Million Sandpiper, which was a strip club. Just go ahead and throw it out there. But those were, I had a band. He played music. We all kind of had people who played music together. So when we were in those environments, dude, we had each other's back. Band people had each other's back. You supported each other. You encouraged each other. There wasn't any real competition, or it wasn't ugly, man. It was like, hey, man, hey, you open up for us, or y'all play Thursday, we'll play Friday, Saturday, because the more people you could get out, everybody benefited from.
Right.
You were able to do it. Well, Jim was one of those guys when we were all, back in the day. So I was really more of an Exit guy. So it's just a little country music connection here, and I just on my podcast we did a little a Danny Orton connection, but Exit was a big band locally.
Okay.
So Exit was, we're gonna go music since we.
Yeah, let's go, man. You're teaching me some stuff. We'll go other direction in a minute.
I'll drop some old school on you. So before I was a preacher, before I was ever in the church, I didn't think I'd ever work in the church. That really wasn't what I thought I'd be doing. All right, so I worked at a putt-putt golfing games out in South Shreveport. Okay. And that was really in late high school. Well, right about that time, one of my buddies, John Compton, lived around the street corner from us. Great bass player, country music bass player. Played with Chris Giddens, and they had all kind of Rob Bell. They were doing all this stuff out there. Well, Exit, who was the rock band at the time, needed a bass player, and John got in Exit. That's Chris Lefebvre, Greg Fulco, Danny Orton, Dwayne. Russell. There was a lot of great guys in that. Well, I was 17 years old. You couldn't get in clubs back then until you were 18. So they would sneak me in. I was underage. So I'd go in, sit in the bleachers of Humphreys, man. I'd watch music, and that's where my love for music started.
Okay.
So it goes all the way back. So underage, I'm going in. Well, whenever we had an opportunity, I had another band, a guy by the name of Alan Smith. He's played out here at Hurricane Alley. His band, he was like, hey, man, I'm starting this little band thing. I was like, well, I think I'm going to get in. I said, I think I'm going to sing for your band. Well, the truth was I had never sung a note in my life. But because I had been with Exit, hanging out with those guys all the time, I was like, I'm going to go for it. So this was Vertigo, another old school shout out. Like, these are all old clubs. This was like down,
I've heard that one. Yeah, that was down in 80.
It was down at Bossier. So we were down at Vertigo. I was like, hey, man, I'm going to sing for your band. He's like, well, come on. So I went out, tried out, sang for his band, and then we started playing, man. I made it. Never sung before in my life, sang that night. So we all started playing 80s rock music. That's what we did. So we would do Thursday nights. Exit would play a Friday and Saturday. So these were all our, we were kind of the young up-and-comers, so they'd be like, hey, come on. Totally different vibe back then, because there were clubs that you played, not casinos. It was more like people came just for the music, and, that was the vibe. So we would play those environments, and that's kind of what led me into music, which then eventually led me into Christian music, which then led me into the ministry. So it's kind of a long, weird route, just because we were like, trying to figure all that out. But all those players, all those people were our people, man.
Yeah.
That's where I spent most of my weekends, and most of my time was with guys like that. Just real quick on Danny Orton, just real fast. I just did a podcast with him because he left Exit, I guess early 90s, moved to Nashville, and he is an amazing songwriter. Wrote for Reba McEntire, Rascal Flatts, Tim McGraw, Dan and Shay.
Dang.
And he's hit it. But that was a Shreveport guy again. Jim would have known him. We all kind of knew each other. Everybody kind of had their same little group. But Danny went for it. He was a Shreveport fireman. 6 months from his retirement, left his job.
What?
Said, man, I'm going for it. Went up to Nashville and was going to be the front man. He's going to be the guy, But the guy that met with him, I think they were with Warner Brothers then, was like, no, man, I think you're a really better songwriter. Give you an opportunity to do it. And literally, you're talking about, he had the song Stand by Rascal Flatts. That's Danny Orton's. And that went like number 1 or number 2. He had another hit by Emerson Drive, which was another, kind of 80s, 90s country band. And so we've just been connected recently because we're reminiscing, and he's gotten like, hey, let me share some songs with you. He sent me like 30 songs last week. Every one of them are a hit, and nobody signed them yet. I'm like going, man, but that's what happens. It's like it's the full circle of music and the business, but it comes down to relationships. The truth is, it's like, do you trust them? Do you know them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Jim was one of those guys. Danny's one of those. Greg Fulco. Those guys all play out here, with you guys all the time. Just we're old, man. We're old 80s guys.
No, I think songwriting too. You bringing that up, like it's a newfound like fascination of mine, because it's something no one talks about.
Yeah.
But it's something that if it weren't for that, you wouldn't have all these huge hits out by the artists.
No.
Like most of these artists aren't writing their own music. You know, a lot of the huge ones. You know, some of them do, of course.
Oh, sure.
But like it's been a newfound. I've had a couple people on. We've talked about it. It is something that's very. It's so weird. It's in its own little box over there, and you have to go through the right channels and the right things.
It's different, man.
It's very political and. It's pretty cutthroat too. It's a crazy industry.
Well, it's business. You know, like
it's business.
You know, we left here, so we were doing, you know, like bar bands, and it was rock. Mm-hmm. So when I decided to get my life straight, I was like, all right, look, I'm gonna try to get a little bit more straight, man. And so we went into, but I loved music. Well, back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was just changing. There really wasn't what you call Christian music, but it was birthing itself. All right.
What was the first big hit Christian band?
Well,
I would
see,
say
now
like
for
Christian
me,
rock. I guess.
Now for me, I'm gonna go old school. You won't even probably remember this, but Stryper, they were MTV. They went mainstream, and they're like spandex, big hair. It was 80s, so like when you had Poison and you had White Snake and all this, well, they kind of went into that genre. So that's kind of who we kind of knew. But then as it expanded. There's a great documentary called Jesus Music, and it's on the history of Christian music, which is pretty cool. But we were in the midst of that, and one of the main guys in that documentary was one of my bosses when I lived in Nashville. We worked for Forefront Records, which was, you know, up and coming record label. They were signing a lot of young people, so we were coming in. And we worked for a band called Jeff More the Distance. They were nominated for a Grammy that year, toured all over the U.S., played, and I was monitor guy and pimping my product on the side. You know what I'm saying? We were writing our songs,
dropping your tape.
Oh yeah, and believe it or not, back then that's exactly what you did. Like now, everything's digital, like even now. But then we literally had a cassette tape, so we'd go to publishing company to publishing company, and we'd say, "Hey man, here's some of our songs. Are you interested?"
What do you think make them like? First of like, just thinking about that, like. Yeah. How many tapes those guys were handed on a daily basis? Like, what do you think? There's no way they listened to every one of them. No, how many hits you think fell through the cracks? You know
I can tell you right now, Danny's a good example of it. Even in today's world, I'm not exaggerating. I could play a couple of songs for you right now, and you'd go, man, that's whoever you want, Jason Aldean to whoever. You could go, he could cut that today, and that's a hit.
Yeah.
But Danny was saying the same thing. It's now it really is in who you know. And relationships, and then they're also loyal to percentages.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So it comes back to if this company wrote it, or if you're signed under this company, then it was like, well, you know, here's my opportunity to, you know, make this money off of this, and they're looking for, like Danny calls them 100%ers. I'm not a songwriter like that. Danny is a professional songwriter. He has written for the biggest of the best. When he wrote Angel Boy with Tim McGraw. I mean, he wrote it for Tim McGraw. Tim McGraw signed it. Big hit. Okay, well, this is all 90s, all right, because remember, we're older. We were big in the 80s. He left 80s rock, went into 90s country. So he's Rascal Flatts, Tim McGraw, Reba McEntire, and they all picked him up. Even wrote for Chicago, a band everybody's kind of familiar with. You know, Chicago picked up one of his songs. Well, in that process, he said, well, why that happened is I was in the right places at the right time. Now he's an independent songwriter. So when you get that independent songwriter, I'm like, back then in the early 90s, we went door to door. Meadows Green Publishing Company, they opened the door. They would listen to us. They'd say, hey, because they didn't want to turn it away, because what if we were the next writer?
That's the thing. Like, I mean, I can only imagine how many tapes like people didn't want to listen to because they just were like, whatever, or the ones they did listen to, like, gosh.
Well, now you got YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, you got everything. So now it's
out there. Everybody's throwing all of their stuff out there.
Yeah.
And you can have access to anything. Well, that was what made it cool back then, is they would open the door. They'd listen to you. So Meadow Green, for example, for us, they were like, man, we'll sign you. Well, we were stupid because we were young. We were like, well, what's the deal, or how's it work? And they're like, man, we like your songs. So why don't you be a songwriter? And then if y'all want to go work making your, trying to be the front people, you do that. But we're going to sign the songs.
Okay.
And then we were like, man, if they want our songs, we're going to make it. That's how stupid we were.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, because the ego thing. Yeah, we were like, no, we're not going to give them our stuff.
We want to be on the cover.
Yeah, why would I give them that? Yeah. And now, ironically, I'm sitting here in this chair, and I'm a preacher. So it really didn't, I don't know if it worked out or not. But that's the way it was. Yeah. I mean, so you all in relationships and who you talk to. And now it's not much different. Danny writes, the only reason I know a little bit, I've just spent probably 2 hours with him over the last couple of weeks, just doing what we're doing now.
Right.
So he's like, he gave me an example. One of his buddies wrote a song, pretty popular song. I'll try to keep on. I don't know if he wants me to tell everybody or not, but it went big. Okay, so that guy that you can write what's called a 100%er. That's all on your own. Or you can go 2-way, 3-way, 4-way. You can go up to 8 ways. Like pop music, sometimes there's 8 different songwriters.
Damn.
Split the money and get the credit.
Right.
All right. Well, this was a 100%er. This guy wrote it, and it went big. Luke Bryan, I think, is actually who cut the song. So when it went big, I think his cut was like $800,000.
Yeah.
For the first check when he started getting the stuff in. So he's like, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, what he didn't know was some guy in Texas, oil guy, his daughter loved Luke Bryan. Now, this is a different world than I've ever thought about.
You have my ears are perking.
Okay, so this daughter of his loved Luke Bryan, and so this Texas oil man called that songwriter and said, hey, man, I want to buy your rights to that song. Well, he wrote it, but a company owns it. So in other words, because it's a publishing company. Right. But he is the owner. He's the owner. So that guy goes, man, okay. I mean, I don't know. What are you thinking about? Well, $1.5 million later, he gave that song to that oil guy. So he gave his right. He wrote it. It got cut by Luke.
Right. So he made money twice.
So but he's also done making it.
He could have made way more than that.
Yeah, but you know what he said?
Yeah, I mean, hey.
20 minutes of my life. That song took 20 minutes. It's like I made whatever it is, $2 million.
Yeah.
So he's like, 20 minutes, $2 million. So then you're trying to hit the next one, or you're trying to co-write with the next one, and that's the very rare extreme, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but when you're good at it, or if you find the right one, that's mailbox money. So you're pimping them out there to all these different people. They decide whether they like it or not. They sign it. You may get your money, and then you get well known as being in that. Like, hey, man, call him. So then they're co-writing with everybody. You know, it's like, hey, man, I'm writing with him. I'm writing with this or whatever. Yeah. That's, that's about all I know about all that.
It is interesting, though, because I sat down with Blake Griffith. I don't know if you know Blake, but he's a Southern Parish boy. He's wrote he had a hit song, Tim McGraw, one for Tim McGraw and someone else. But anyways, we were talking about a lot of that. And, yeah, man, it is interesting, though, how it works. But because now you're, like, you're saying that songwriter got X amount of money, but, like, the money's different now because you're not signing with these. Like, if you're independent releasing it, then you're trying to make money off streams and then brand deals, it's just different, right? Because, like, you Spotify, you're only going to, or whoever the streaming service is, you're only going to get a fraction of every single play, and you got to have a couple million plays to make any.
Oh, I heard Snoop Dogg say, and here's another little thing. I heard Snoop Dogg say, I think he streamed whatever something had streamed. I don't know if it was one track or whatever it was.
Right.
And he had like 2 million streams.
Right.
He said he made like $40,000.
That's what I'm saying.
He was just like, but that's what's so screwed. So it used to not be that way.
Yeah, if you had 2 million plays of a song in the 90s, you'd be making $400,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, you'd be making money, probably more than that. Who knows? But that's where Snoop was like on.
But you're not really making it because you're publishing. Your record deal, the record company's making it. Yeah.
You know. But I think that's there's positives and there's negatives. The positive is of today's music that anybody can get anything out there.
Yeah.
So, like, the only reason we even got probably in the door in Nashville back in the day is because of who we worked for. We worked for Forefront Records. Somebody kind of knew. They're like, hey, man, we'll give the guy a shot. Well, this still rings true. It's not, what you know, but who you know. So if you go, well, I kind of know them, or that's a friend of mine, or that's whatever, then you could kind of get in. Well, now the internet's who you know.
Yeah.
So if you know that internet and you can get it out there and you put it out there, then
it just takes that one share.
Yeah, and then like that's what I like about Hurricane Alley though, and all you guys are doing here, the whole Red Dirt, everything, all about it is, it's the behind the scenes, it's the rough making it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like you got to play, you got to keep playing, and you got to keep playing, and then you hone your skills by playing, and then if you write a good song, it's gonna get recognized, it'll get found because. Like now, I mean, people write stuff and it goes off on TikTok or whatever, which is hard for me to even wrap my head around. But that just shows the following of whoever it is if they get it out there. And if you're gigging hard and if you're playing hard and you have a good show and you put on a good show and you're a good guy and you treat people right, then dude, it sets itself up. What happens is when you're a jerk, you treat people wrong, and you don't do what you're supposed to do. And that was the same in Christian music, man. I can tell you one funny story. So we were young. We were working with Jeff Moore. I'm running monitors. This guy's nominated for a Grammy. They didn't make big money back then, but they made their share, We'd play some festivals. I mean, you pay 50,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, so, like that was they did one called Atlanta Fest. It was in the middle of Atlanta Raceway, and it would be packed, 40,000, 30,000. You'd have some people in there. So he could feel himself too sometimes, like, hey, man, I'm something. I got this going on. Well, we end up being in Minnesota somewhere, snowing. We play this gig or whatever. And it's all about the promoter and the money, and they're trying to figure out so many things. Because in Christian music, it wasn't any different than it was in the regular music. You're playing a gig. Your real money's in your merch, because there's only so much money you're coming off of the table or whatever. So you better pimp the merch, and then you get back there. Well, he looked at me, and I was young. I was excited. I was I've got to be in my 20s, man. I'm like, hey, we're going to do this. And Jeff was like, hey, man, you come with me. And I was like, where are we going? Because I'm a monitor guy, I'm like, I can't. He goes, no, you can leave that monitor for me. I want you to see something. So we go in the back or whatever, and the promoter's there. And we sit down, and it's Jeff, the promoter, and me. And we're sitting here in the middle of this church in the middle of Minnesota, nowhere. And he goes, all right. Jeff says to the promoter, he's like, okay, we settling up? He's like, man, it snowed tonight. And the truth is, there wasn't a big crowd. And man, I thought more people were going to be here, and man, I can only give you, and I don't remember what it was, maybe a quarter of what he was supposed to pay you. And Jeff was like, well, man, you really owe me, X amount. I can't remember what the amounts were back then, because man, it was all of us. We had a tour bus, we had the gear, we had all our, everybody. I think I made, which just a little side note, full time living in Nashville, running monitors for a Grammy nominated band, I made $800 a month.
God.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Is this early 90s?
92.
Okay.
92 to 93, which was, dude, even back then,
that's not a lot of
nothing.
That's not
we didn't
money,
have
right?
anything.
No.
So he's sitting there, and he goes, and they're kind of going back and forth, and he goes, well, I tell you what, Jeff looks at him, our boss, and he goes, let's just shake on it, and if you ever get it, I pray you'll send it to me, or you're going to, help us out. He goes, man, I whatever. He shake hands. We go out, and we're loading up the truck, and we're driving back then you gigged like, no exaggeration, we'd go from South Georgia to Saskatchewan, Canada, straight runs, and then we'd come here. You'd gig for 2 or 3 weeks, then we'd go to Nashville for a night, and then we'd come back out and do whatever. Well, we're driving, we've loaded the truck, and Jeff goes, I wanted you to see it. And I'm like, what do you mean, Jeff? He's like, everybody sees the glamour. You saw the 30,000, and we're selling merchandise. He goes, but this is reality. Yeah. You're going to get, cut short a lot of nights. There's a lot of times there's no crowd. Like it'd be 50 people show up on a night. We thought there'd be 5,000 because of snow or promoting was bad or whatever the deal was. But he's like, I just want you to know, the bottom line is you can never get back your reputation though.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, dude, I'm surprised you didn't cuss that dude out, or like, come on, bro, like I got to make it. How are we? He said, man, you learn your reputation's your reputation. So if you are ugly, if you don't treat people right, if you blow whatever you're going to blow, well, then the next town or the next place. And then he goes, and then obviously for us on the spiritual side of things, it's like you got to trust God sometime. I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability. I'm going to do everybody right. We brought in the full show. I played my full show. We didn't cut them short knowing it was a smaller crowd. Or we played we gave them everything we had, and it is what it is, And he was like, but you got to know as a young guy, that's the way it is the rest of your life. And I'm just like, well, okay. So that's why I only lasted about 1.5 years in Nashville. I was like, I don't think I got it in me, man. I wonder
if he ever got any money out of that.
No, I bet he didn't. No, the truth is he probably did. Now, Jeff ain't hurt, man. He launched a great hunting gig up in South Dakota. He still lives in Nashville. It's Jeff Moore. It's Fellowship Adventures is the name of his company. But he does a great job, and now he's doing hunting trips. Like everybody from Nashville, from music, they all go up there and pheasant hunt. And he does a fishing trip, but just a phenomenal guy. And I say all that to say his reputation is who he is. He held it. He could have been ugly. He could have treated people wrong, but he didn't. He's like, dude, I'm just going to do the right thing. And in the end, It's going to come back around. Now all those guys are coming to hunt and fish, and
right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's getting his money
that
on
way.
the backside. Yeah, you know.
Well, how did this happen? So people not listening and watching, especially a market of people that I may be connected with, may not know who you are. So you're the pastor over at Simple Church, and you guys have a massive following in North Louisiana.
Yeah.
And probably trickles into other areas too, because you guys, I think you probably, did you double your reach during COVID? Like, I feel like y'all got I feel like I just started seeing more people being connected there whenever you couldn't do something in person. You know,
all of that's weird too, man. Like,
it is weird.
I mean, like when you really look back at it's like you're starting your company, your business, and you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, or much less the next 5 to 10 years. Here I am at 54. You know, we started the church 16 years ago. We're going into our 17th year. Well, number one, the only reason I started a church is because I didn't like church.
Well, how did you get what happened from drinking, playing music in bars? Tell me what
so that's
happened?
what I mean. It's like, so I grew up, and we're in the South. I mean, so most people go to church sometime, occasionally. Hey, man, I go at Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, my family grew up going to church occasionally. We were Catholic and Baptist. So I joke with everybody, like, that's why I'm screwed up. You know what I'm saying? So, like, half my family was Catholic, and so we were Catholics. During the summer, if we stayed with my grandparents, we went to Catholic church. We did all that. And then if we came back in the fall, we would hit, we were Baptist today or whatever. So we kind of grew up in that.
Yeah.
But all of that didn't really cause me to like it. Actually, it caused me to dislike it. So all my experiences, for the most part, were negative. We had a preacher who, knocked up the secretary. My dad was a part of a church. He was like a deacon, and somebody stole money out of the church. So you kind of saw a lot of the negative. Yeah, you just saw a lot of the negative. Well, so I trusted in Jesus, but I really didn't like the church.
Yeah.
So in other words, as simple as it was, I was like, man, I know I'm screwed up, and I know I need a savior. I know I need somebody to help me. So my higher power was, I wasn't going to go with any other thing. I'm like, all right, it is for me, Jesus. But in that process, I still was me. So in other words, like, I loved rock and roll. And, I loved having a good time. Most of my friends were in the bars. So I didn't let all that go away. I was just like, look, I'm going to walk with Jesus because I'm going to keep it real with him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, dude, I'm going to try to figure this out. So the cool part, my parents, they didn't know everything, but they knew I was doing music, because once you start doing music and you're playing out till 2 and 3 in the morning, they know something's up. They never hassled me over it. My hair was long. You know what I'm saying? I grew my hair out.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a drinker and I wasn't a partier. So
you weren't? So I didn't know.
I never liked not being in my right mind.
So you were just in that environment all the time.
All my
But that's where your people were at. But you weren't.
But I'm not a partier.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
to me, I was like, I'm going to be sober just because I don't want to screw up. Every time that I was around people that were in excess, like living it up, I was usually picking them up.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's like, whether that went into a fight or whether that went into something bad. So all my people were that way, and we hung out and we all got along. But I was like, dude, I'll be your driver. Like, I'm cool. Like, I'll drive, and I ain't going to let you get in the bind. Whether that was a fight or whatever, you're like, let's kind of get each other's back.
Right.
Well, once I kind of got into the bar scene, you know what I'm saying? Like, these were my people. This is what was going on. So we're rocking and rolling along. Well, eventually you start, it's kind of a tough road, man. It's kind of the same old, same old. It didn't matter what club we went to. Like, our band played the strip club a lot.
Yeah.
It was $1 Million Sandpiper. Well, it's the same people.
Yeah.
Like, we pretty much go like, man, you're kind of in the same spot. Like, so then eventually you start going, all right, I don't know if this is what I want. Like, these are my boys, these are my people, but I don't know if I want to keep going down that road. Well, for me, being a guy who trusted Jesus as a kid, really wasn't living for him, that's when that switch happened. I was like, man, I got to make a change. I don't know if I can keep doing what I'm doing. Well, when Christian music was birthing in the late 80s, early 90s, I was like, maybe this is my route. Like, maybe I can still do what I love to do, but not have to always be in this environment. Well, the truth is, most of those players came with us. Like, most of those guys at the bar, it's kind of who we all started going. Now, that didn't say they all quit drinking.
Right,
and they all quit.
Right.
We were just keeping it real, and we were trying to find another route. Well, when we went that route and moved to Nashville, it was a shot in the dark. I mean, I had an opportunity. I worked at Gadzooks here in town too. It was I was the bikini salesman, man.
I remember that.
I pimped a bikini. So.
Vaguely remember that name. Gosh,
yeah, we sold bikinis and skateboards and all that kind of stuff. So that was my money job.
Yeah, Gadzooks.
So then
that was it. Was that Pierre Bossier?
Pierre Bossier. Yeah. Well, and I opened, which is a little sidebar. So when I worked at Putt Putt, the guy that owned Putt Putt owned the Gadzooks in this area.
Okay.
So at
because it was a franchise. Wasn't it?
So at 17 and 18, I opened College Station, Longview, Texarkana. Trying to think of where Dallas.
Do people know this about you?
Yeah, I mean, if they know me, they do.
They know the reference, man.
Yeah. So like, I was pimping bikinis, man. That was what we did. I mean, we sold bikinis, had a great time, and played bars on the weekends. It wasn't a bad gig. We loved it. I mean, we had a great time, and we were able to do all those things. But then, when I left Gadzooks to go to Nashville, I was a manager at the time, making good money. Then I'd work my way up, but I had a shot. So I was like, man, we're going. And so when I left to go to Nashville, that was really the turning point. So I went up there, did that for a year, didn't work out. I mean, became the monitor guy, traveled, pimped our product. But then you also realize that's like, man, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if we're good enough, because we weren't probably good enough. But then also, did I want to live on the road like that? No, couldn't get married, no kids, nothing. And now I'm getting into my late 20s. I'm starting to kind of figure it out. Mid-20s, late 20s, I'm like, oh no, my hair's long still. Come back, nobody will hire me. So I take a janitor's job. So I'm sweeping floors and mopping. And I said, man, I'm going to go back to school.
Where at?
Temple Baptist Church over in Shreveport. And the only reason I got that gig is because the guy that was the music minister was my music minister of the Baptist church when I grew up. So he knew that I had gone into Christian music. He was like, dude, you need a shot. Because I couldn't find a job. Dude, my hair was down. It's like kind of like my son Ian, like now it's 20s, 2020, 2023. It's different.
It's different now.
But back then, there was like, everybody judged it.
Unless you're going back to Gadzooks, man.
Yeah,
Gadzooks.
right. And at that point, they were out of business. They had closed, man. It had gone. So anyway, I'd clean floors, mop floors, did all that, and then we started going around and asking if anybody wanted us to play again, because we were trying to find a gig.
But so you're going to start gigging at churches?
So then we were like going, will anybody take us? Yeah. Well, nobody would. Nobody wanted no long-haired rock and roll guy.
Rock and roll Christian band.
They were
weird.
Like, whatever.
What year was this?
So that would have been, I came back in 93, so 93.
It was before POD.
Well, see, you bring POD up. So Sonny's one of my best friends. All right, so Sonny is like really one of my closest friends. Now, Sonny's and that's the lead singer from POD back in the 90s. We just came back from Honduras, grilled a water well together.
Yeah.
Took his son. He brought his son, and I took my kids, and we had a great time. But Sonny will tell you the same thing. Is like, now they made it. Like,
right.
I mean, they were like MTV. But he'll tell you the same thing. It's a tough world. Like, it is not an easy world in the entertainment industry.
Right.
And you also have the same problems you have in the real world, or they have in the entertainment world, whether that's family problems, money problems, whatever's going to go on. You have all those same issues. And so for like Sonny and for me, it's like, these are our people. We just went and hung out with them. They played over in Dallas at Trees. We went over there and hung out with them at Trees. And they're still playing clubs, because now they're back to, they were coliseums. Now they're clubs.
Yeah.
And so we talk about the same thing. It's like, it's relationships, bro. Like, for us, who you trust and who you know and who's got your back and who has your best interest. And for us, that obviously is Jesus, because he didn't leave us in any way of those things for us. But at the same time, the church, that's always a little difficult, because people are judgmental, man, tattoos or hair.
That's what I was going to say.
Appearance or whatever. So
you're in a super niche market, because not only you're rock and roll, but then you're Christian rock and roll. So rock and roll people look at you like you're not rock and roll, and then Christian people look at you like you're not Christian. So you're like really an uphill battle.
And that's why, and again, we were nowhere near like a POD. It's just that we have similar stories.
Right.
So
you all went through the same stuff.
You all kind of went through the same thing. And so when all that was going on, I was like, it don't matter. I'm going to do it. This is who I'm going to be. This is what it is. And I'm going to go for it. And so we went and kept asking churches if they'd play. Most of them said no. And finally, one guy funny story, First stop I had with Jeff Moore when we left Nashville was in Dauphin Way Baptist Church down in Mobile, Alabama. The only reason I remember it, the guy screwed us. He didn't have anybody to help unload the truck. It was my first stop. So I got an 18-wheeler of equipment, and I'm responsible for setting it all up. Me, Dave Shirley, a couple other guys, front of the house guy. But there's no crew because the church or the people are supposed to bring the crew.
Right.
So I'm screwed. So I'm pissed at the guy. I'm basically going like, I can't believe it. Well, his name was Stuart. Stuart Hall's his name. Well, fast forward a year, okay? I come back home. He took a job at a church in Bossier, unbeknownst to me and unbeknownst to him. And so when I was going around asking for churches, nobody said yes until I got with him, and he goes, hey, man, you look familiar. And I'm like, you're the guy who screwed me down in Mobile.
You owe me. You owe me.
You owe me. And he goes, dude, I do owe you. And so he came back and said, I'll let y'all play. And that's how we got back in the church. Is we started in the gym with Weatheralls. I mean, Jody Weatherall, and that's Billy and all. They all grew up in that. That's all mid '90s. Yeah. Because now it's '93 through whatever. But in that process, you're in a church, but you're going, man, I don't know. Like, appearances mattered to people. They were like, you had to dress right, you had to look right. You had to. Well, for us, I was like, man, the bar is more authentic than the church is. And so I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know about all this. And so the goal then, once I got back in, was one day I want to launch.
I'm extremely particular when it comes to my vehicles, and I only recommend those who are the same way. That's why I always recommend SBC Autos. They take pride in their inventory, from badass four-wheel drives, clean classic cars, and even your everyday grocery getters. They have it all. No hassle, no BS. SBCautos.com.
To church, dude, that can keep it real. Like, that's the goal. And I don't know what that's going to look like. And music's going to be a huge part of it because we're going to keep it real. We're going to have some fun. We're going to play anything and everything. And we're going to try to navigate that where people who don't feel like they got a place could go, dude, that's my people, man. That's where I'm at. So, in 2007, we launched Simple Church, and the rest is history.
How did that happen?
So by, obviously a God thing, but it comes back to vision. Like when you're trying to figure out like what you want and you try to figure out like what that looks like, you got to kind of know. You got to go like, I want it to look like this. So a couple of key components. I didn't want it to be clothes. I didn't care what you wear as long as you wear something. I mean, we used to joke. It's like, dude, I don't care what you wear, just wear something. And I say that because one of our first Super Bowl parties we had, 98 Rocks had a party with us. They were downstairs and we were upstairs down the bar in the boardwalk. This is just funny. So we're a new church, and everybody's chilling. We're all trying to figure it out.
That's right. Y'all launched the church
we launched in the bar. And that's a cool story. I'll give you another reason why I love the bar part of the life. But I'll go back in a minute. But we're in there, and this girl comes up the stairs, and I got a couple of single guys with me. I've been happily married for 25 years. Got a beautiful wife. She can rock that bikini too, all right? But anyway, we're going to a bikini. We're a gadzooks, son. So we're sitting there, and here comes this girl walking up the steps, and she's got a bikini on. Now, this is February, because Super Bowl's in February. It's cold.
Yeah.
So these guys are like, man, this church is cool, man. This girl's walking up these steps with this bikini on. She had a trench coat on and a bikini.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like going, man, I don't know what's going on. So we're all kind of laughing. I'm like, hey, girl, what's up? She's like, is this where the party is? I'm like, yeah, we're having a party here. I said, what are you? She goes, I'm talking about the 98 Rocks party. I said, no, man, 98 Rocks is downstairs. We're upstairs. So all my guys were like, dude, you should have lied to her. I said, no, this is where you needed to be. They were all single, man. They were ready to mingle, cuz. So,
man.
But we joke about it. We don't care what you wear as long as you wear something, man.
Yeah.
So, and that was what was cool to me. She's like, man, this is cool. Like, I'm glad y'all, because we ain't, who are we to be ugly to somebody or whatever's going to go on? So we were like, whatever, man. So when we launched the Simple Church, that was the goal. The bar story, real quick, it's funny. We started in the theater. We run out of space in the theater because it's booming.
Right.
Because we're playing rock and roll. We're playing some Christian music. I mean, as far as a worship song, but if I was doing a series, I mean, I'd hit Van Halen, man, because that's what I knew. So I may go, hey, we're gonna hit this song. Let's play this, and that'll kind of. And I wanted people that didn't grow up in church when they came in to go, dude, I kind of recognize.
Feel invited.
More
comfortable.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I remember that song. Oh, that's cool. Where's he gonna go with it? And we had a big movie screen, so we did a lot of movie clips. We do a lot of comedy. We try to work on, still do, but that was it was different. It's kind of what I grew up in. I'm an 80s kid, 80s teenager. You know what I'm saying? A kid of the 70s, a teen of the 80s. So we brought all that in. And we're like, dude, we're not going to run from it, where before it was like, you can't do any of that. You can't do any of that. We're doing it different. Well, we run out of space at the theater. And I'm not scared of a bar. I grew up in a bar. I mean, I spent a lot of nights in bars, so it doesn't intimidate me. But I do know that the church freaks out about all that. They're real worried about all that. They got some things they're trying to figure out. Well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm walking the boardwalk, and this is one of the greatest. If you're a Christian or some, especially a church person that's negative or you trip out, this ought to be a great reminder for them. All right, if you're a bar guy, you're like, yeah, I get it. Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do, so I go up to the bar. I'm walking. I'm like, well, I wonder if anybody's at the bar, because I ain't talked to my board. I hadn't talked to anybody. It's just me just brainstorming. I'm walking down. And I knock on the door of the bar, because I'm thinking, what if we could do another service down here? It's just kind of loose in my mind, because we've blown the theater out. We became the largest theater church in America at the time.
How long did that take?
A couple of years.
Okay.
So we launched in 2007. So, through 2010, something like that, 2011, we started booming.
Because I remember, because that's right around the time I had graduated in 07, class of 07. So right around the time I was turning legally, to drink, and I'd go out, and I remember people like, they're partying. They were like, we're going to church in the morning. And I was like, what the hell? Okay,
that's who it was. So what's crazy? So I knock on the door of this bar. I don't know this dude. I don't know nobody. Like this, I'm out of the scene, so I mean it's been a long time. So it's not like it's a friend of mine that knew somebody. Where I knock on the door, and the guy answered the door, and he's like, can I help you? And he had a foreign accent. I don't know where he's from. Everybody still asks me. I don't know who he is. I don't know the guy's name. I'm just telling you who it was. So he's like, can I help you? I'm like, dude, I'm just kind of tripped out. Crazy question, dude. We blew up the theater. Like there's no more seats or anything. Is there any way that I could rent your club to do church in or whatever? So you got to remember now, this was tripped out for them. That dude looks at me and he's like, do what? And I'm like, I'm just curious, bro. Like, you can say no. I'm just, you got us a big space, but like, can we rent this or whatever? And he's just like, hold on a second. He turns around and walks off. So I'm standing at the door of the bar, and I'm looking around. I'm like, man, where'd he go? I don't go in because I wasn't invited in, and everything's locked because it was during the day. They were cleaning or whatever they're doing, counting money, doing all their stuff.
Seances.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah, those are my people, man. So he comes back. And he hands me the key. And he goes, hey, man, you're crazy enough to ask me? I'm crazy enough to give you the key. I said, hold on, bro. Like, I don't know you. You don't know me. He said, I don't need to. He goes, if you're that crazy to come up and ask a bar if you can do church in it, I'm crazy enough to go get the key, and you're welcome. And I said, hold up, bro. Here's what I want to do. I said, Christians are always about, like, taking, man. They're always about, like, takers. I said, I'm gonna pay you. Let's kind of come up with some kind of an agreement to kind of work out a payment deal. And he's like, no, dude, I ain't taking your money. I'm like, well, no, dude, I ain't using your space without taking your money. So he's like, I'm just telling you, I'm not taking your money. And I was like, well, I'm just telling you, we're not going to use it unless I can give you the money. So he goes, here, let's do this then. He said, why don't you pay me enough to clean the bar after 2, and whatever that cleaning crew cost, that's going to be your rent, and I'll put it right into getting the bar ready for your people to come in when we close at 2. And I was like, dude, I don't care what you do with the money. I just can't be a taker. We got to have. He goes, deal.
Really?
We moved into that bar,
and he could have made how much money? I mean, how much were you willing to spend?
I was willing, whatever it took.
Really?
So it didn't matter, like, because we were in a bind. I was like, dude, if you're willing to do it, like. And what was cool was, literally, from that point forward, we baptized in that bar. We had, everybody was like, are you going to cover the liquor? And I'm like, no, man, it is what it is. Like, we're using their place. So there was some controversy of like, how are you going to do this? And I'm like, we're going to do it like we would do it any way you want to do it.
You're the perfect person to ask this, because I'm the biggest, man, I'm so put off by religion. Not that I'm not a Christian, or not that I don't believe in God, but I've been my whole life, because you're the perfect person to talk to this about, which makes me excited, because, like, what is that? Like, what is that? Like, what is it? The fact that you're supposed to give, never take. You're supposed to, be the best person, be great to your neighbor, serve, give everything to God, do nothing wrong, whatever it may be, whatever your ideology is, depending on what religion it is.
Yeah, sure.
Why is there so much scrutiny over sin when every single person knows they do it? See, and they try to act like they, like, I don't understand. I never understood that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's kind of like, the best way to put it is, and this is why if you look at the person of Jesus, this is why, like me, Sonny, I could go through Danny, all of us who, you can't let religion keep you from the relationship. And what I mean by that is religion is like the man-made side of trying to get to God.
Right.
So what happens is religion loves control.
It was a way to govern. I mean, it was for the longest time, wasn't it? The Catholic Church.
It loves control. So when it goes for it, is if they can control, then they can manipulate. It's the same way right now, dude. It don't matter what it looks like, whether that's political issues or whether that's church. It's like they're coming back to this control.
Yeah.
So what was tripped out about all that to me, growing up, I just never liked any of that. So what I tried to do is like, in every way and in any way, point to the relationship and get away from the religion. So in that relationship, just like anybody else, the more you get to know somebody, the more you trust them. And the more you trust them, the more you're willing to do what they tell you, or like in that relationship. And I always come back, I told them, like, this is kind of simplicity for me, but like, love, trust, and obey. I got to believe that whoever that is loves me, cares for me. That's what Jim was good at, like a bar guy. My bar guys, or like whatever it was like, hey, dude, I love you. I got your back. It don't matter whether that was the fight, whether that was the driving you home sober. It's like, I'm not going to let you do that. Well, a relationship issue, if somebody was screwing up with some girl, whatever, you're like, hey, bro, like, dude, I love you enough. Come on, bro. We can't do that. And if you have a relationship with somebody and that becomes real, you trust that, okay? So then it comes back to, that's the trust element. It's like, hey, dude, I know you can trust me. So if I say I'm going to pay you, I'm going to pay you. Mm-hmm. If I say I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And then it's going to come down to this other part where this is where religion hangs up. Do what I tell you to do. Well, no kid likes that. A kid, if you're growing up being a parent, you got to know that your parent loves you. And if you know they love you, you're going to trust them. And then if you trust them, then when I'm telling you, be careful. Don't do this. It's not because I'm trying to control you. It's because you know I love you and you know you can trust me. Then I might want to pay attention to what you're saying. Hey, be careful on this issue, or don't do this. So, for example, drinking for me, dude, I don't have no problem if somebody drinks anything. It don't bug me none at all.
That's another thing.
But here's what I'm going to come down to. But trust me, know your line, cuz.
Right.
Like, be obedient. Like, don't. Why? Because if you cross that line, one of my good friends, man, this is horrible, went to the church. He paralyzed a woman driving drunk and then went to jail. I had to go look through the glass through him, and he's weeping, going, like, man, Justin, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, look, this is why I always say, it's like, dude, be cool, bro. Like, watch your line. Know where your lines are. Mm-hmm. And then if someone's close enough to you and you trust them enough, then I ain't trying to oppress you. I ain't trying to, like, punish you. I'm trying to say, look, I'm trying to protect you. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the God thing. But what the problem is in a messed up world, even in the church world, they take all of that and extreme it for the sake of control.
Yeah. And
then it makes everybody go, dude, I don't want no part of that. And that's why I love Jesus.
Right.
You go look at Jesus. Dude, he was hanging with some sinners, cuz.
Well, yeah,
he was in the club.
Yeah.
No, and the reason why was not because he was in excess, dude. He never sinned. It was because he wanted them to know, I get you and you can trust me.
It was authentic.
I love you, bro. I got your back.
Yeah, it was authentic. I mean, and like if you look at anything, it's like most of those people aren't. They're full of shit. Excuse my language.
No, it's like you ain't gonna bug me.
Right. Well, the thing is that they're full of it because they're preaching all these whatever it may be, but then behind closed doors they're doing whatever.
And this is why, like Jelly Roll said it recently, he was on a big podcast and it kind of went viral because he was like keeping it real.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I have mad respect to you, Jelly Roll, because the truth is, Sonny would say it, anybody who is a follower of Jesus, all right, like forget Christian, forget like church person, I'm talking about somebody trying to follow Jesus. you will realize, dude, you got to really love people where they are. And
Yeah.
this idea of judging them, dude, I ain't judging nobody because, dude, I could be judged just as quickly and easy. I am a sinner, so I'm not sitting here saying, dude, I don't have my issues. Trust me, I got my own issues too. So the last thing that I'd want to be doing is trying to portray that it's an oppressive, pushing, negative. And we already know, I ain't going to go down to some of the specifics, but there's some tripped out people pointing a whole lot of fingers, even in the local community on some things. And I'm like going, I don't know how you think that's going to help, bro. Like, the truth is like, I know who y'all are, and I know who people are in this community. And even like Bo and everybody else, same way. It's like, it's a heart issue. It's deep in their heart. Yeah. It's a relationship issue. And that's what you can't let all that other junk keep you from the person of Jesus. Now, granted, if I got it all together, am I perfect? No. Are you going to meet anybody who is? No. But while we have the chance, you can have an influence to help somebody go, man, I don't know. I don't need to be going down that path. They're in a destructive path.
Well, there's so many people, like, there's some people that don't need a drink. You know what I mean? And so, like, you choose not to. You know, whatever.
Ain't got no.
But if you want to have a drink, you know, what I'm saying is that's just one example. But there's people that there's a reason why there's those written laws saying don't do anything in excess, right? Don't overindulge in any of these things, whether it be, sex, alcohol, murder, whatever it is. Like, you don't do those things. Like, but there's, like, I don't know. I feel like that some people need to, there's some people that don't need to do this, whereas this is okay for some people. It's just different. Like, I can go have a couple drinks and I don't feel bad about it. I'll have one sitting right here in front of you. I don't care what you think about it because I'm me, Right. Whereas if you were just like, if I was into some traditional church and you were my pastor, I'd be ducking and hiding if I saw you. You know what I mean? Like,
and to me, just like you said, man, that's the being authentic and keeping it real. We just call it keeping it real. It's like, just keep it real. I mean, dude, most of the people on our staff, okay, so like if you're just cutting it down to like, I've walked with them and they've walked with me through some of the darkest, most difficult times in their life. So whether that's abuse of a drug or the abuse of sex or the abuse of power or money or whatever it is, and that there's not a you don't get immunity from that. Like, there's nobody who's immune from that. And when you're tripping out and you're wanting to try to control people, then there's a reason you believe that's right. Where Jesus came to give you freedom. Not freedom for your own abuse, but freedom from all this other crap, and particularly religion, because religion is the opposite of it. So it's oppressive, it's control, it's like, and that's why I like a good example, one Jesus story, and this is a cool example. 10 Commandments. Most people kind of get them. They know them. They know some of them. But I can throw out one of them. You're like, I get it. And that's like, thou shalt not commit adultery. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, I get it. It's like, I ain't supposed to sleep around. I ain't supposed to be hooking up. Whatever. Well, that's the rule. And the rule was designed by God in the Old Testament. Like, hey, man, I'm trying to do it to protect you because it's going to be some consequences, painful. And we all know there's consequences. But, okay, whatever. But then in the man-made side of things, you get to the back half of the Bible, New Testament, the rule was if you break that rule, the woman gets stoned. Now, I want you to just go with me for a minute.
Yeah.
They pick up rocks.
Right.
Men pick up rocks, and they kill a person over it. And they only kill the woman, by the way. The man's going to ride out.
The one who wasn't even doing it.
Well, no, if she was committing adultery. If she's committing adultery with some dude,
right.
And she gets caught, they stone her. They kill her.
Okay, what happens if you're...
That's the rule.
Right.
And the reason they created this rule was it honored God. Okay? That's not debatable by anybody. But here's what I love about Jesus. That rule is to honor God. Well, God is Jesus. Mm-hmm. Jesus is God. He came to the earth to go, look, I'm going to provide and change everything. I'm rewriting the story, son. In Nashville, this is the overdub, son. I'm going to go ahead and cut in here and overdub it. All right? So he comes in. Woman's caught in adultery. I think it's in all the Gospels. I don't remember if it's John 13. It's John somewhere. Woman's caught in adultery. They drag her in the streets. It's the coolest story ever to me. This is why I'm a Jesus guy.
Yeah.
Drag the woman in the street. She's half naked. All the guys are lined up like, man, we got the hooker, son. We done busted her. Religious, arrogant, I'm trying not to cuss because I am a cusser, so I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be cool.
It's a free room here. I cuss a lot. I'm trying not to.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Normally I've been instead of.
So they get there. All right, they drag her in there. All these guys pick up the rocks. And Jesus walks out, stands in the road in front of her, and defends her. Okay, so she's cowering down. All the guys grab the rock. Now the scripture says that he wrote something in their sand. Nobody knows what he wrote because they don't know. But the theologians, the people who study Scripture, believe he wrote one of two things. He wrote the Ten Commandments out, is one thought, because all of them knew it. It was their religion.
That's a lot to write in the sand, though, man.
Yeah, but he can't. But he is because he got time, dude. They ain't got no internet. There ain't no phone distracting them, baby. They ain't got cable. They're just like writing it out. Other believe that he wrote their name and their sin.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
So the reason why is because he said, hey, whoever has no sin, throw the first stone.
Right.
They drop the rocks, they walk off. He looks at the woman, he says, hey, where are your accusers? And they're like, man, I ain't here. And he said, I don't accuse you either. Go and sin no more. Now, why do I say all that? That's a total game changer from religion.
Yeah.
Religion is you kill her.
Yeah.
Religion is you get control. You go
something. You do something to punish.
Well, yes, like you're because I'm right and you're wrong.
Right.
Well, I go back to when Jesus came in, he changed all that. So for me as a pastor in this day and age, the last thing I want to do is pick up a rock, man. That's just not the guy. Right. So my job is to go, hey, man, I'm working through it like you're working through it. This is what's worked for me. Keeping it real and being authentic. You ain't got to be perfect. You ain't got to have it all together. But we got to be working on it. Because the more I work on it, the better I am as a dad, as a husband, as someone in the community, a business owner, or whatever. Because selfishness, which I'm guilty of it just like you, leads to that place of, man, this ain't good. And you and I both know when you live in selfishness, it's the most unattractive thing about anybody.
Yeah, it's something that happens, man. It's something that happens when you get grounded and figure out whether you're a believer or non-believer, whatever it may be. Yeah. When you get grounded, it changes your perspective on everything. Sure. You know what I mean? Whereas you're not just shooting from the hip, because when you're shooting from the hip all the time, you really don't have a path or can't really foresee what it may be that's in your future trajectory or whatever. What do you think? Because this is another thing, and I'm just like sitting here. These are things I think about that like are hard to talk to people who are in the space you're in.
You can talk to me anytime, bro. We can have a whole other podcast just on that.
What do you think about people that take like scripture and break it down and break it down and break it down and break it down and like have 10 different ways of like just one sentence? Like, I mean, what's your...
So here's my deal, and dude, trust me, you're looking at a rock and roll guy who sold bikinis. So number one, anybody who's a theologian is going to attack me anyway, because that's what they love to do. So I just try to keep it simple. So literally, that's why it's called Simple Church. It's like, look, love God, love people. And we added a little by phrase because Jesus was really good at it, and that solved problems. When I grew up in church, it was not about really loving God and loving people. It was about being right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about solving problems. It was about creating problems. So for us, we tried to take what we believed to be Jesus, what he said, and really try to put it into action. And when you're trying to break it down, figure out, I just go, dude, like, I can't even just get that right. Love God, love people. So like if I'm working on that every day and I'm still striving for that, it's real hard for me to go down and break down something else and go, man, this is exactly what that meant, because it was written 2,000 years ago. There's principles that apply to everything, and there's things that I can learn from, and I try to take that and apply it to my life every day if possible. But dude, I'm human. I do it better on some days and not so good on the others. I ask my wife, she'll be like, dude, you jacked it up today, cuz, or my kids. Like I've lost my temper on my kids. I hadn't been very Christ-like, whatever the issue is. But in the overall picture, it's like, I'm going to try to keep it simple, because if I can keep it simple, I might can do it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, that's where grace comes in, because most of the time I can't. And thank God for grace, because, I'm kind of needing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm really, really leaning hard on the grace part, because that really is. It's like you're not going to ever get it right 100% of the time. So whether that's dissecting it or living it out,
well,
you
the
need
dissecting
the grace,
thing just bothers me, man. It's just like, how... First of all, who are you to be so entitled to think you know what the hell you're talking about? Like, we just are hoping to understand a little bit of this and get our shit together.
But that comes back to arrogance, though.
Right? Yeah. And so like when these people just dig and dig and dig, and I'm just like, man, just read the thing and just kind of apply it a little bit and calm down.
Here's the good part, and this is why you'll love Jesus, man. I'm telling you, this is why when you go back and you look to it, it's like he was the most humble.
Yeah.
When they get prideful or arrogant, usually don't go well, bro.
Yeah.
Whether that's in life, whether that's in politics, whether that's in business.
It's anything.
It is.
It's
so,
anything.
and that's a biblical principle against like, hey, man, and that's why when the most powerful man in the world, Jesus, comes in the form of, we just got through Christmas, comes in the form of a child. He could have come in any way. Dude, if it was me and you, I may have come in with smoke, man, because it's the 80s. I might have come in with like a rock show. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't. He comes in a manger.
Yeah, the most innocent form ever.
All right, why?
And then lives and grows and lives amongst everyone.
And all he does is serve.
Yeah.
And this is why, and I'll give you like like work for the fire department. Like when I got the chance to start chaplain for the fire department, I love it. And here's the reason why. It forces you to be humble. So like on your worst day or my worst day, there's a group of men and women, whether they're police or fire, that they come in, military is another great example, they come in and do what nobody else is willing to do. They come in and out of humility and out of commitment, they come in and serve to meet that need. Well, that's the whole Jesus principle. What the irony is, the churches come across as just the opposite. You come do it our way. You come serve it. You do this for us. This is what we're going.
Come give me all your money.
Right? Yeah. And then you're like going, yeah. And you're going, now wait a second.
I'm coming here to pay you to bitch at me.
Right? Yeah. And you're like going, somehow this don't really work out. Well, I always go back to it. The reason we love our military, our police, our fire, doctors, nurses, is they're selfless, bro.
Yeah.
They're willing to. COVID was a good example of it. Whether you agreed or disagreed, there were men and women in there wiping some rear ends and watching families say goodbye to their loved ones, because I was there.
Yeah.
Tough, man. So I didn't really care about the political side of it. It just came down to the people. Same way, whether it's a DUI and I go pull up and we're pulling body parts out and you're having to go to that family and go, hey, man, they're gone. You don't do that. They're not doing that.
Yeah.
Why? When I get the honor of serving in any of those ways, forget the preacher role. It forces you into servanthood. Yeah. And Jesus was the ultimate servant. So whether that's playing rock and roll, I don't come in and go, dude, I'm the man. You need to have purple M&Ms and this right. To bottom line, hey, dude, how can I make this night good for y'all? If you're an artist or if you're the guy running, that's why I tell my son, he's running the lights. Okay, you need to walk in, bro, and be like, what can I do to make y'all's night better? Why? Because no one really rejects humble servanthood.
Oh yeah.
But boy, when you get arrogant and you're prideful and you're right and they're wrong and somebody's screaming at somebody and you're going to do whatever, the blah, 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 it usually don't go well. And the church is usually like that. So my goal is, man, I can't be like that. I ain't going out like that. So if it's Sonny, me, whoever it is, why does Sonny go out with Ozzy Osbourne? Everybody's blowing him up. Like, how'd you tour with Ozzy? And he's like, dude, because I'm there to serve Ozzy just like I'm there to serve whatever tour I'm on. Why? Because nobody does that, bro.
Yeah.
They're all like, I demand this. You must do this. Well, it just ain't very cool. And the truth is nobody wants to hang out with you. So like for me, when I went out, I'd be like, hey, dude, I'll drive for you. What do I need to do to make your night go better? And then when it all goes to hell in a handbasket, and you're like, I got your bag, bro.
Yeah.
I picked my buddies off the ground. I'm like, dude, you tired of it yet? Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't go the fourth one, or the sixth one, or the eighth one.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point in my life where I still enjoy alcohol. And alcohol is just one example, because a lot of people can relate to that, right? A lot of people have issues with drugs and alcohol. Just is what it is. But I've gotten to the point now and where it's just like, man, on occasion. But man, it used to be. I mean, even in the past. Leading up to probably within the past year, 3 or 4 times a week, and not in excess, but just a couple cocktails, whatever. Right. But I don't know, man. I'm seeing more clearly. Things look different. Things feel different, and it's because I'm not constantly fogged. I don't have a fog. You know what I mean?
I'm just trying to tell you, dude. And that's why I always say is like back in the day, mine was probably a little fear too. Like when I was first coming up, why I didn't really go down the alcohol route is I had a little bit of a fear of like, dude, I don't want to make a decision that I'm going to regret because I'm trying to build myself. I don't want to go back. Well, then as you get older, it's a totally different route. My deal is like, whether you're running a business or trying to be a family man or a relationship, whatever it is like too much. Not a couple, not a little bit here. That ain't what we're talking about. I'm talking about when it crosses over, it hinders your ability to be a good friend, a good dad.
Anything in excess.
It's exactly right.
And that's like too much work.
Yep.
Too much, too
Little
much
Debbie's for
depression.
me.
Too much. Yeah, that's another thing. I hate, dude. I've been in some rooms where the person is just moving their finger up and down and preaching the gospel, or so they claim to be. And they're 200 pounds overweight. I'm like, is it overindulgent? It's one of those things that's blatantly written down.
Yeah, it is. That one's just not. They don't want to talk about that one.
We're gonna leave that one alone.
Yeah, that one I'm gonna push to the side.
But I respect that. You guys have bridged the gap. And what I really respect more than anything is, and I've heard this. I heard this somewhere a long time ago, and I've said it before in passing. But like, they say the most segregated place in the world is a church on Sunday. Or church on Sunday, because there's so many different ones.
Oh yeah.
And there's collectively this group of people that go to this one all together.
Yeah.
They're one group of people. There's another one over here. None of them coexist and like each other. And you bridge the gap.
We try, man.
How much pushback have you gotten?
The funniest thing is like, you obviously have the race issue, which we try. We're in the South, man. I grew up in the hood.
I didn't even think. I was thinking denominations.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go all of it because it falls in all of it. But for example, I grew up at Werner Park Elementary in West Shreveport. That's right by the fairgrounds. It don't take you much.
Hood, bro.
You don't take you long to realize that was probably not the greatest neighborhood. But my dad was a blue collar worker, worked for AT&T, Western Electric at the time. And we moved up like the Jeffersons to a middle-class neighborhood. When we got there, we had all kinds of still issues because you're still just trying to make it. Like you're trying to make it through, they're trying to make it through, and you realize there's more similarities than there are differences just because of what's going to go on. Well, you get in the church, the reason we worked on, whether that was if you're a Catholic, we welcome you, dude. It don't matter. Come on, man. Or you're a Black Baptist, come on, bro. If you're tired of religion and you're tired of, then come on. Or meth, whatever it is because we have more things similar than we do different.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to create a place like that, it's not easy. Like I wish our staff was more diverse. We have diversity in religions. I mean, as far as denominations and stuff, but we're not. We're pretty white, man. You know.
But here's the thing. You're not going out there trying to strategically pick someone to be diverse. Which is the wrong way to go about doing it anyways. You're letting it organically happen.
Right, and I was going to go back to it. It goes back to, for us, Jim Malsh, even like Wendell, my friend that is in Cedar Grove. How I got to Cedar Grove is because we were working with a friend of mine, not because it was a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Wendell's a black guy who works for the fire department. He's a great friend of mine. He's like, man, my church is kind of struggling. Hey, we're going to help you. Well, Jim is a part of that. Well, my relationship to Jim helped solve their problem. Mm-hmm. He didn't know Jim, and Jim's generosity and his humbleness helped us to solve a problem in another community. And how did it happen? As I said earlier, relationships. It all comes down to genuine, authentic relationships, dude. You either are who you are and who you say you are, or you're not. And we all have moments of what we're not as good as we could be. But when all the chips are laid down, I've been in this community my whole life other than my year in Nashville. Justin is known to be Justin. Like, if you go to somebody, they're going to be like, yeah, that dude's crazy. He cusses too much. He loves the 80s too much. But, yeah, he does love Jesus. And he is trying to solve problems. And for me and anybody who tries to walk in that road, we're not going to be perfect, dude. There ain't no way I'm going to get it right all the time. I'm going to let somebody down or whatever. But genuinely, from our heart, we're going to try to make it right. Like, hey, dude, this is who we are. We're going to try to do the right thing and try to support those that are trying to do the right thing as well. And that's why, on another level, like somebody asked me to pray for the casino opening. And a lot of the churches were all like, I can't believe you'd go down and do it. And here's what I tell them, it's like, don't forget this, y'all.
You can't believe that I'm going to go down and support other humans.
You're right. And this is what I go back to. It's like, we got to solve problems, man.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is businesses in this community employ people.
Yeah.
They give people opportunity. There are a lot of negatives and a lot of things that are going on, but also there's a lot of positives.
Yeah.
So I got an option, man. I'm going to focus on the positive. I'm going to try to be a positive agent. I'm going to try to serve humbly, whether that's fire department, church, or if I'm out here, I'm like, hey, man, what can I do to help? What do you need me to do? Whether it's set up, tear down, whatever we got to do. Because in those moments, the community needs somebody who is a Jesus follower that you go, yeah, man, that's who that dude is. When all the chips are down, and that's why it's an honor that you asked me to come in and speak. Like, look, dude, I don't know why I'm here, but cool, thanks for asking me. But when you told me, I was like, but hopefully you'll know you got a friend in me. If there's something I can do or we can do as a church or whatever to help solve a problem, man, holler, brother.
Keep doing what y'all are doing.
Yeah,
bro.
well, we're trying. We're going to keep trying.
Well, let's wrap it up. Who's how can everybody find you guys if they want to watch you? Or
yeah, we're
listen
out
to
there
you?
on the internet. It's www.thesimplechurch.tv, the THE simplechurch.tv. That's easy. Also on all social media and all that stuff too. But if you go to YouTube, we got a whole YouTube channel, just like everybody else. That's the modern way, right?
Yeah.
We're on TikTok and
doing all the
Instagram. We're on the
things.
grams and all that stuff.
Doing
We got a
all the
podcast. We got a Backstage with Simple Church is our podcast. So if you look up Backstage with Simple, and it's interviews. I don't do them all. We started doing that, but now we have other people that kind of just interview people and talk about stuff. But I just interviewed Danny Orton, that songwriter in Nashville. Spent about 20 minutes with him. Really, we had about an hour and a half. I had to edit down to 20 minutes.
Take all those dark.
All of our cuss words and all of them. No, honestly, it was like, because we're so ADD, we were all over the map.
Y'all closed
me and Danny go
that.
along.
Y'all closed caption that thing.
Yeah, we go a long way back, bro. So we were trying to capture it up. And I've interviewed Sonny, like that. You can go on YouTube, on our YouTube, and you'll see me and Sonny's whole interview. Drew Brees. I mean, I've hung out with Drew Brees and all of these celebrities, and what you'll find out about all of them. And dude, they're all just people, man.
Yeah.
They're all trying to figure it out, and that's why I love Drew. That's why I love Sonny. Sinbad, the comedian, we brought him in and did a lot of good in this community back in the day. James Burton, I could go through all of these. James Burton, by the way, is going to be in the Rose Parade. Yeah. So all these guys, though, they're all trying to do the same thing. They're trying to figure it out and find their way to make a difference. And so, go on there. You'll see. You can watch me interview them. Cut up.
Yeah, we'll check
have
it
a good
out,
time
man.
with it. So thanks for letting me do it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome, bro.
All right, bro.
Always a pleasure.